All right. We are here with White Stallions of Lipizza, Chapter 6, from the Imperial Box. And you remember, our hero, Hans, has been given a ticket to see the horses, so he's very excited. When Hans told his mother and father of his good fortune, they exchanged looks of amazement. Think of it, Mama said. A seat in the Imperial Box. Our boy. Herr Haupt mused. That man from America. He must be somebody important to get a ticket in the court loge. Oh, he is, Papa. He's right up next to the president. When Sunday came, Hans finished his deliveries in double quick time. Then he gave Rosie a once-over lightly and an extra measure of oats. Today I shall see your friend, he spoke in the whiskery ear. He hurried into the house and found his parents in a happy mood, Papa yodeling as he had not done in years, and Mama humming as she heated pails of water and polished his boots. It's almost like a wedding, she said. In honor of the occasion, she opened a fresh bar of 4711 soap. I'd been saving this to bathe my grandson, she sighed, but Jacques is already a big boy and so far away in Paris, who knows when. Hans was bewildered by this change of feeling. 2 months ago, his mother was scolding. Hans, the palace is no place for baker boys. Today, she was urging him, scrub your ears, brush your hair, clean your fingernails, use the 4711 for the body, but pumice stone on your hands. He was glad to escape to the bathroom and let the billowing steam envelope him. He tested the water with his big toe. It was just right, and he slithered into its warmth. It felt good. In spite of the whole hour he had left, he scrubbed in breathless haste. He must not be late. So there's Rosie getting her extra oats. And here he is in the bathtub getting clean. By 9:30, his face shining and beet red, he shot down the stairs, fully dressed and ready for inspection. His mother looked him over as if he and not the Lipizza would be on parade. You'll do, she said, bursting with pride. You could rub shoulders with an archduke or even an emperor, and you smell better. Isn't it so, Papa? Sitting in his old leather chair, Herr Haupt nodded contentedly. Hans noticed with a start that his father's face seemed to have taken on the same creased, leathery look as the chair, but the eyes under the wiry brows were smiling in triumph as he opened his hands and held out a 2-shilling piece in silver. Hans turned the coin over, studying it, not knowing how to say thank you. Then he shouted, Papa, it has the picture of Prince Eugene on it. His statue stands by the Hofburg, and he's riding a Lipizza. I know. That is why I saved it for you. But, Papa, I don't really need it. Fraulein gave me my ticket. I know that, too. But a man of 12 should have a little money in his pocket in case he wanted to buy a program. And maybe, he added wistfully, maybe the truth is I just wanted something to give so that something from me is there with you. He stood up now and put both hands on the boy's shoulder, holding them tight. Gray eyes looked into gray eyes for a long moment. Then, Hans, he said, all Viennese are proud of the Lipizza, even I, who have never seen them. It is something wonderful we inherit from the past, but for most of us it is a thing to admire from afar, like stars or the moon when it is new. Sit down. He let his hands drop from the boy's shoulders, and he regarded him almost as a doctor examining a patient. Son, he said slowly, thoughtfully, I don't want this morning's experience to be so beautiful it will break your heart. It may be only once in a lifetime for you. Hans thought of these words as he left for the Imperial Palace. He was touched by his father's concern, but as he walked along the Josephplatz, excitement took over, and the warning dissipated like mist with a fresh wind when a fresh wind blows. He threaded his way in and out among the Sunday strollers, his mind on tiptoe. As he approached the palace, he saw people coming toward him, away from the entrance. He overheard one remark, and after waiting in line 2 hours, there's no room. There's the coin that he got. Silently, he thanked the man in Washington for the reserved seat and walked right up to the visitor's door, his ticket held out. With fast, beating heart, he followed after an usher, climbed the stone steps, and took his seat in the front row of the empty loge overlooking the great riding hall. He felt all at once on the brink of something deep and wonderful. He was here, actually here, about to see the mystery. His eyes swept the quiet vastness. Below him and above and all around was the beauty such as he had never imagined. The beauty crashed in on him, the whiteness of it, walls white as fresh snow, and stately white pillars marching around the balcony, holding the gallery on their gold-encrusted shoulders. The hall was enormous. It could hold 1,000,000 horses, he thought. Yet somehow it was delicate, with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling like fairyland. Stabbing through all this whiteness in the morning sun worked magic on the chandeliers, shattering their crystal prisms into bits and pieces of color, blue and yellow and red. Hans marveled at his eyes as his eyes tried to see it all. He wondered if even heaven could be so beautiful. Here's a picture of the chandelier.
That's neat.
He looked below at the neatly raked earth on the floor. Was it pulverized clay like Rosie's stall? Sawdust? Sand? A mix of all three? It would be nice for horses' feet, and if a rider fell, he wondered, did they ever? Now his eye studied two posts in the very middle of the arena. What were they for? They were crowned with two Austrian flags, red and white and red. He noticed that they were fastened securely at the bottom. He knew this was good because when the horses came thundering in, the breeze they made would not ripple the flags and cause the horses to shy. After a while, Hans was conscious of sounds around him. People puffing up the steps, polite coughing and conversation. Spectacle cases clicking open and shut. People sitting down beside him, people behind him. Until now, he had been too busy to look at his program. He took a quick glance at it. The performance might begin at any moment, and he must know what to look for. The first event was listed simply, Young Stallions. Hans saw that the horses' names were printed in big, bold letters as if they were first importance. And they each had two names. The riders' names, however, were printed in much lighter type and their last names only. Hans chuckled. The horses were important here. So far, everything was better than he had dreamed. Before he could read on, a hush fell. Suddenly, the music of violins and flutes, trumpets and cymbals rose and swelled until the hall was full of sound. Slowly, the great double doors at the opposite end swung open. 8 snow-white stallions, their gold trappings gleaming, entered in single file. In majestic dignity, they moved forward between the flags, the whole length of the hall, toward the imperial box. Toward him. They were lining up now, 8 abreast, right below him. Hans looked down and recognized each one, the Roman-nosed, the dish-faced, the ram-nosed, and the tallest one, Rosie's friend. His mane and tail were the color of old ivory, which made his coat seem whitest of all. As for the riders, Hans was scarcely aware they existed until the moment when, in great solemnity, they lifted their two-cornered hats and held them at an arm's length in a courtly salute. Impulsively, Hans stood up and returned the salute. And here he is, saluting the horses.
Turn the salute. Not supposed to.
Probably weren't saluting him, but that's okay. From then on, the pageantry flowed before him like a dream. To the strains of lilting music, the stallions waltzed. They marched. They did the crossover. They stepped diagonally forward. They two-tracked. They pirouetted on platoons of 4 and 3s and 2s as rhythmically as if they had been born to dance. 6 events merged, one into the other, like sequences in a dream. Then the music stopped. A silence of expectation hung over the hall. The moment had come for the airs above the ground. This was the mystery Hans had come to see. Eagerly, he opened his program. There would be 4 stallions, he noticed, but there was no way to tell which horse did which aerial movement. He leaned over the red velvet railing, every nerve tense. He saw the doors open, and he marveled at how quietly and calmly the stallions entered to the merry music of a Strauss waltz. Then, as the tempo quickened, their walk and trot showed fire and animation. Suddenly, the movements were happening in quick succession. One stallion leaped into the air, kicking out both fore and aft until it seemed he might split apart. Another took his position between the 2 pillars, and without any bodily motion, he trotted in place, lifting his knees to incredible heights. The third, one who, to Hans's amazement, was chocolate brown, froze into a statue, balancing on his hind legs. For long seconds, he held this pose while the applause exploded. Now the tall, ivory-maned stallion took center stage. Rosie's friend was the star. Crouching on his hindquarters, he reared up, and with a mighty leap, he jumped into the air and forward on his hind feet. The audience gasped as he propelled himself upward and forward again, his forefeet never touching the earth. How could the hind legs support all that weight? Would they break? No, the stallion was doing it again. All this while, the audience watched in utter stillness. The only sounds were the faraway notes of flutes and the heavy breathing of the horse. Every sense alert, Hans was trying to see how it was done. How was the horse prompted? What were the magic signals?
Go listen. Yes.
He could detect nothing without any stirrups at all. The rider was sitting ramrod straight. He was like a chameleon. He hardly showed. Everything was for the glory and the beauty of the horse. As the stallion sank back to earth, the audience in both galleries rose as a mountain out of the sea, and the applause erupted in a thunder. Hans alone was unable to move. He was frozen in wonder. He had seen it. It was real, but it was still a mystery.